Morning. Today is Tuesday, the 8th of June. It's 10 a.m. and this is the Weber County Board of Commissioner meeting. And this the Chambers of Weber County. We welcome you here. Thank you for participating in your local government. Glad to have you involved. We also welcome those of you who are online. Appreciate your showing interest in that. Our invocation this morning, our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Miss Stacy Skeen. Then we'll have an invocation by our Clerk Auditor, Ricky Hatch. And our thought of the day will be given by the Vice Chair, Commissioner Scott Jenkins. We'll go to that point.
Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our kind Father, who art in heaven, we approach you this morning with gratitude for the blessings we enjoy. We recognize the freedoms that come from you. We recognize the responsibilities that you have given to us, the trust that you have placed in us to manage our affairs as a people governed by themselves. We this morning ask for your guidance and your blessing and your inspiration as we deal with the affairs of the people of Weber County. We pray for wisdom and common sense, and we ask that you will bless all those involved today, that they may speak freely and civilly, and that we can have conduct the affairs of the people with honor and integrity. And we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Mr. Jenkins.
Thank you. Stace, now would be the time to put that picture up. Wrong picture.
Here you go.
That's okay. It'll have to do. So, you know, we've had the loss of several people around us lately. One of them was our attorney, D. Smith, this last week. And these are such sad affairs when they happen. They're not, you don't see them coming. They just take place around you, and you never know. And so my thought of the day today is, look, while you've got the time, make your time count. Don't hold back. You've got your vacation time. You need to go out and spend time with your family. And so this last weekend, I climbed Angel's Landing with 7 of my grandchildren. They're all of my high school kids, high school grandkids. And we also walked the Narrows. And these are 5 of them that got on that Narrows. And these are times that you can't recapture. They're one time. You get one shot at them, and not 2 or 3, or you do them once. And this was a wonderful, wonderful trip. I had a good time with my kids, and these are memories that last a long time. So I encourage you to go make some memories. That's what it's all about. Thank you.
Do you have a name for that trip, and how often do you do it?
So I do it annually, and it's called Grandpa's Great Adventure. And they never know where it's going to be from year to year, so it just depends. Every year is a little different. But they all look forward to it, and they wait for the time they're in the time they're in high school to go, and they're sad when they graduate because then they're done. And that's it.
How many grandchildren do you have?
21.
Wow, that's wonderful.
So hopefully I got lots of years of this yet to go.
It's great.
Mm-hmm.
Good. You know, Commissioner Jenkins, he does make the most of it. I think earlier, not too many weeks ago, you also went rim to rim in the Grand Canyon.
Oh, no, that was a year ago.
Oh, sorry. Just trying to give you a little more stamina credit, but oh, we'll wait for another year. Okay. Very good. Thank you, Commissioner, and that's great counsel. Commissioners, we'll now go to our public comments. These are comments, as a Weber County Commission, we're not by statute obligated to take comments to the public, but we like hearing comments from our public, but we want to hear them on the items related to the agenda so we can stay efficient in county government and that we can stay on track while we conduct the business of Weber County. So we ask that your comments are made only on those items listed on our action items, not on our consent items. And so now's the time, if you have comments related to action items on our agenda today, you're welcome to come forward, or those of you online are also welcome to speak. We'll go to the galley first. Is there anyone in the galley that would like to make comments on our agenda today? Seeing none, Stacy or Shelley, are there comments online? We're getting a head back and forth, which is a no. We'll then, Commissioners, leave public comment and go to our consent items. I'll read those for public record. Item number 1 is a request for approval of warrants 459-286 through and including 459-420 and 3950 through and including 3971 and 91 in the amount of $503,476.43. Item 2 is a request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $354,639.41. Item number 3 is a request from Weber County Fleet Department for approval to surplus 7 vehicles. Item 4 is a request for the Weber County Community Development Department for approval to declare parcel 13-151-006 as surplus property. Item 5 is a request for approval of retirement agreements by and between Weber County and the following individuals: Mary Lou Adams, Geraldine Park, Casey Priest, Robin Hurt, Christine Hallman, Nathan Hutchinson, Alana Bryan, Stacy Roquemore, and Chris Stetler. Commissioners, questions about consent items? I'll move then to Mr. Hatch, if you'll comment on those, please.
Certainly, Mr. Chair, thank you. We issued 11 purchase orders this week for $355,000. 51% of that amount, or $181,000, is for our elections office. Through grants from the state, we are purchasing additional voting equipment and maintenance. 32%, or $112,000, will be for the Golden Spike, and that is primarily for ventilation modifications to the riding arena. 9%, or $32,000, is for the garage to purchase a truck. We issued 158 warrants this week for $503,000. One-fourth of that amount, or $114,000, were escrow releases for Cherokee Farms and Mallard Springs. 22%, or $113,000, was for the jail, and that was for food, utilities, building maintenance, and medical supplies. 14%, or $68,000, was dental insurance and disability and vision insurance as well. 11%, or $56,000, is for the library to go towards building maintenance, books and materials, utilities, and some office supplies. And then 6%, or $29,000, is for the health department for the tobacco cessation program.
Great. Questions for Mr. Hatch? I'll entertain a motion, Commissioners.
Mr. Chair, I'd move to approve consent items on the agenda F1 through and including 5.
Motion accepted.
Second.
And a second. I'll place that motion for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Aye. Thank you very much. We'll now move to item G like golf on our agenda, our action items. Commissioners, last night, this is a discussion and or action on a nomination to the governor for UTA's Northern Region trustee position. The UTA's Northern Region trustee position. Commissioners, last night, the three of us were joined by the majority of the mayors in Weber County. I think 13 of the 15 were on the line with us yesterday. They brought forward the name of Beth Holbrook to continue serving in that position. She was unanimously sustained by our Council of Government. So, Commissioners, this morning I'm bringing to you the name Beth Holbrook so that we can, one, not just support this name, but also the mayors who support Beth in this recommendation to the governor for the UTA's Northern Region trustee position. Are there any comments pertaining to this?
Mr. Chair,
Please.
are you looking for a motion on this, or?
Or a comment or an emotion?
Well, I would move that we approve the name of Beth Holbrook for the UTA Northern Region Trustee position. That's in conformity with what took place at WACOG last night. And speaking personally, I believe that Beth has done a great job being very responsive to northern Utah, in particular Weber County. And I think that she would serve well in that position and we'd fully recommend her to the governor's office for approval.
Very good. Have a motion?
And I'll second that with the comment that I also believe Beth's done a very good job. She's been very responsive. She always attends all her meetings. It's not like she's playing catch-up ever. She's on top of it. So I'm very supportive of her. She's done a good job for us.
Very good. Got a motion and a second. Before I place that motion, I too will just make just a comment. You know, one of the things I've been really happy to watch Ms. Holbrook is she's done a wonderful job growing into this position that was created just a few years ago. A lot of times when you have a new position, there's a lot of things that have to be created, and she's also had that element about her. I appreciate the work she's done on what I'm going to call the Ox Rapid Transit Line, which is the BRT. You know, we had oxen was used to pull people into the valley, and now it'll be used to move people in Ogden, back and forth between the Ogden station and up to Weber State and the hospital. But also the Bamberger line, the new line that I'm certain will be coming between the Hill Air Force Base and Ogden, that MIDA project, which will be great. So that Bamberger was a historic line that was here for a long time. But Beth, you're just the right person, and so I'll place that motion for vote, Commissioners. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Thank you. Thank you very much, Beth. We appreciate your service.
You know, Mr. Chair, she happens to be in the audience.
I
Would
was
you like
thinking
to get
about
a comment?
that. Yeah, Beth, would you like to make a comment?
That'd be great to hear from her.
She's sometimes a little shy, so I just was trying to be respectful.
I've been accused of many things, but not shy.
Yeah.
Good morning, Commissioners. Beth Holbrook with UTA. I just wanted to thank you so much. I apologize about that. I just wanted to thank you so much for the opportunity to serve the community and to really look forward in the transportation and transit sectors to figure out what we can do to help balance the growth in all of our communities. And I'm humbled with the opportunity to continue to serve. I feel that I can give a great additional service to not only the individual communities, but Weber County as a whole. And I look forward to continuing to be responsive and making sure that we're all moving forward together. So thank you very much for this opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Beth.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Let that also be obvious that we support women in their roles. This commission has actually appointed or hired more women to serve in key positions than any other time in the history of Weber County, and so we're very conscious of that. And this is just another example of that we look for the right person to fill the job, and you're the one. Thank you, Beth, very much. Commissioners, I'll move to the next one, which is a resolution. This is a request for approval of a resolution of the County Commission of Weber County appointing a member to the West Warren Park District. Our presenter today is Miss Stacy Skeen. Miss Skeen?
Good morning,
Aloha.
Commissioners. Aloha. So we recently made the appointments to the West Warren Park Board, and one of the members, Tim Christensen, has resigned. So I reposted this vacancy for a midterm position to fill Tim Christensen's position. It would expire December 31st, 2024. I received 2 applications, one from Chris Clem and one from Robert Del Jordan, and we just need to appoint one member. Chris Clem has recently served on this board as well.
Commissioners, comments pertaining to this. This is out in your area. Commissioner Jenkins, I would love to hear your comments on this.
Okay. So this is to fix a mistake I made.
Really?
That's right. Let's call it what it is. I admit, I made a mistake. So,
This is the twice in 2 days. I'm loving this, actually.
it's
Yes,
only
I
one.
think I heard two beautiful words yesterday.
I think we were talking about the same thing.
Okay.
Anyway, what ended up happening here is when we got that previous board I recommended and we approved, I accidentally took Chris off of it.
Oh.
And he'd only been there a year or so. Anyway, so I screwed up. So it so happened that Tim Christensen's my son-in-law. So I called him and I said, Tim, you got to resign. I said, I got to fix a mistake I made. And he was okay with that. He said, yeah, that's okay. I was just trying to do some public service. So he resigned so that I could reappoint Chris and fix that mistake I made. So it's just that simple. And I appreciate everybody's patience with me. You know, a lot of times they get upset about things like this. And Tim wasn't upset, and Chris, he was surprised because he recommended several of these guys, and then he ended up getting taken off the board. And he said, whoa, what'd I do? I overdid things. And so anyway, I apologize to him. And anyway, so this is good. Thank you. I appreciate you if you allow me to fix my error here.
Takes a big man to admit error, especially publicly, and that's great integrity, Commissioner. Thank
So
you.
with that in mind, I'd make a motion that we reappoint Christopher Clem.
Well, I didn't know I was accepting a motion at this time, but I will. Okay,
And I'll
good.
second it. since
Great.
it's,
That's great.
I appreciate you, Commissioner Jenkins, looking at it. It's never easy
Yeah.
on these board positions because we have a lot of qualified people that appoint, and a lot of times we go out and actually ask for those, and then it turns out we get more, and then you end up having to eliminate somebody, which is never easy. But I think we always, and Stacy, I think that on all these boards, we keep the people that have applied so that we have future opportunities to appoint.
Yeah.
I appreciate the people taking their time to make the application.
That's wonderful, yeah. Appreciate the service. Thank you, Commissioner. And so we have a motion and a second. We'll now place that motion for vote as a resolution. Fatima?
Commissioner Faur,
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins,
Aye.
Chair Harvey.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. We'll now move to item 3. This is a first reading of a fee ordinance amendment to the Parks and Recreation Department. The great Todd Ferrario.
Well, I'm
Welcome.
glad this isn't telling our errors and getting reprieval. but
Confessional.
Be a long one. So this is in two parts. First off, we were asked to go back through the last couple of years of our fee ordinances. The process has changed a little bit, and I think this is good. So majority of what you see there is just updating what is currently on our website. There are a couple of note. We did increase the nightly camp fee from 20 to 25, and we are increasing the disc golf from 2 to 4. Those are really because we've had massive increase in costs. An example is, we bought 105 12-foot 2x6s to repair a bridge. When we put it in September, they were $14 a piece. We bought them a week ago, and they were $28, 27 and change. That's kind of hitting us everywhere. And we will make it this year on the budget by, scrutinizing what we do. It just doesn't allow us to fix some things that are kind of outside of our normal repair. So this should backfill us a little bit because we all realize those costs are probably not going all the way back down. So it's just a little housekeeping for us. Disc golf has seen a huge amount of people, which is phenomenal, but it also increases some of our maintenance costs and replacing of some things just due to use. And with our 2 events that are happening over the next 15 days, that's only going to increase. So we're just trying to get ahead of the curve a little bit. We've had huge support from the volunteer crews, but we've been sending our crews down there much more than anticipated to help them because it's a little overwhelming when you have hundreds of people per day using the facility. So we're just trying to catch back up a little bit.
Great. Commissioners, any questions regarding these fees and the purposes why we're doing this? Then I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion that we approve item G3, which is the ordinance.
It is a first
Number.
reading.
It's a first reading, so
First reading, okay. Of the fee ordinance amendment for the Parks and Recreation Department.
So we have a motion for the first reading of this amendment, the ordinance amendment for Parks and Recreation Department.
And I'll second that with a comment.
Please.
So, Todd, appreciate that. Obviously, we know the demand, all the love we're seeing for these venues that we have across the county. It's very important that we continue to offer top quality venues, and with that comes the cost to keep them up. So I appreciate you bringing this to us.
I'm trying to get ahead of it, so.
Yeah, it's, just with the demand we're seeing across the board, it's very important that we do our maintenance.
Well, and with that, I will say, we do look at facilities in our state and our surrounding region to see where we are. And I think if you do your due diligence, we're very reasonably priced on everything that we do. And part of that is the support that we get from you guys in tourism tax. That helps offset the true cost of running these facilities. So we're just trying to, lessen that gap. Because it affects everybody in our department when we need to use capital money outside of capital projects just to do our daily maintenance. So.
Very good. Thank you very much. So we have a motion and a second. I'll place that motion for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Before you sit down, Mr. Ferrario,
Good, I needed 30 seconds.
can you do just a little PSA, a public service announcement on what's happening at the fort and the disc golf?
I will. Thursday we start the Utah Open, which is our state tournament held by the Utah Open group, which is our volunteer group. This year's a little bit different because the PDGA Tour had to change their tour event that's this weekend in Oregon. So between that and having Worlds that are coming right after, we have a number of top pros that are playing in the Utah Open as well. We are opening the park with our championship tee boxes, which we normally don't do. It does exclude the fishery piece of it because 2 holes will shoot across the water. So for safety reasons, the fishing part is down. We have met with DNR and they know that our signage says that 21st Street Fishery is open for use. We go from that into about 5 days of practice time for the PDGA Worlds players, the registered players. It's part of our contracted obligation. Then we go into about 7 days of Worlds events. And that will impact the theater. We have an opening night that you guys are invited to at the theater. We have an event at the ice sheet. We have an event at the archery complex for the players and their crews. And then we have Worlds that will start on the 22nd and go through the 26th with cleanup on the 27th, and then the park will be back open. And with that, we have a music festival up at Weber Memorial this weekend. So it's quite busy. We should see big crowds at all of them. Actually, Worlds is sold out, which is great. And thank you, Health Department, for working with us on numbers. But not only does it impact our venues for marketing value, but it's good return for the taxes that we get with tourism tax to help fund our department as a whole. So Visit Ogden has been a huge piece of this puzzle. Marty and Jen have worked on this with us for 2.5 years now. It got pushed from last year due to COVID, but it's a major event. It's streamed on multiple channels and will be in every piece of media that has to do with disc golf. So the long-term ramifications are great.
When did you create this golf course? Because for years, Fort Buenaventura was only a mountain man rendezvous type of a spot.
Right.
Now we have a disc golf. When was that created?
We're about 2.5 years from when we opened it. So we actually went to Vegas twice where they have a PDGA event to kind of see what that looked like. Marty and I walked in the first year and we were in the parking lot and realized, oh, we can do this. So we actually put our application in for Worlds prior to our course being open, which is not very common. They had never been west of the Mississippi before either. We kind of showed them the events that our county has put on with the help of Visit Ogden and the Gold Foundation and the support we have for our community on any time we have an event. And they accepted our bid, a little surprising in year 1 because we were told it would take multiple bids before we would get accepted if we would. So we got the acceptance of the bid about 3 weeks after we opened the course. So it would have been a quick turnaround. We were ready last year. Well, we thought we were ready, but this extra year has helped. As you guys know, you've seen the fort. It's gone through a pretty nice transformation. And, you know, that's partially due to our staff and the camp hosts and the volunteers. With the mountain men doing their piece of the puzzle and the disc golfers helping, and they work collaboratively. As a matter of fact, the mountain men are coming out to help with Worlds and vice versa. So it's been really good teamwork, and I think it's a dramatic change in the park. The beautiful problem is we're really crowded at times in the park. So you wish for things, and sometimes you get more than you wish for. But it kind of fits to what Commissioner Frower was saying. The impact here and at North Fork with the trails that we've upgraded have been very, very noticeable. So.
Commissioners, this is yet another example of taking an existing resource that we already have and finding ways to create more tourism with minimal impact, even budget impact to our facilities, and have it embraced by all the users. And so I commend you personally, Todd, for what you've done here, bringing the best to the world back to Ogden, create more tourism dollars to help all property, tax-paying property tax people in Weber County.
And I would like to bring to your attention, this started with a $19,000 ramp grant, which is, for putting in a championship disc golf course, is pennies. But it gave us the seed money to buy the equipment, and then we could, with our staff and volunteers, build the course. And to turn $19,000 into what we're seeing, the economic impact is expected to be over $2 million for Worlds alone. So to be able to see a return on an investment of that scale is not normal, and we know that. Some things have a much bigger punch than others do, but I think it's a pretty phenomenal return. So for our community and the others.
Very good.
So can I tell you about fire restrictions real quick, just so everyone's on speed?
Commissioners, okay, I'd love you to, especially as it pertains to our parks.
So Ogden City has put fire restrictions in on the East Bench and down the river, and to include Observatory Park and Fort Buenaventura. So signs will go up today, so they are under fire restriction. They are allowing us to do gas barbecues and elevated gas fire pits as long as they're off of the ground. Worked with Kevin Brown and Ogden City Fire. They were great. Kept us in the loop the whole time and provide us with the maps and the actual restriction from the city. So that is in place now. I talked to Commissioner Harvey this morning. Weber County's next step would be June 20th. As of right now, the parks are excluded in the fire restriction. But as I told him, you know, we need to look at that and make sure that at the time that it becomes more of a hazard than the value of having it. But as of right now, we do have, within our fire pits, with water available, we do have fires at our upper campgrounds. So just keep you in the loop. If anything changes, we'll let you know.
Questions for Mr. Ferrario, Commissioners?
Good information, thank you.
Thank you. Very good. Thank you, Mr. Ferrario.
I do have one.
Okay.
So, Todd,
Yes, sir.
as far as press releases on this this World Championship, you've taken care of all that kind of stuff, so we'll have them out in advance?
They are, and realize it's a ticketed event, so the press releases have been going on for months. We opened it up at 1,000 tickets, and they sold out quickly, and then we were allowed to do 200 more. So yeah, the community knows. We do have some passes so you guys can get down there and see it that will rotate around for the county, just kind of observation ones. We've worked with the media because in an event like this, you can't have camera people all over the course in the wrong spot. These are high dollar players. We have 2 players that are $1 million a year sponsored players that are coming. So it's a big deal. You don't get in their way.
Yeah.
So we actually have a media team that will assign a person that is very familiar with the golf course to take camera people and media outside of the public areas so they can get pictures and news releases. So I think it's been done very well. There's been a little back and forth because of COVID lifting and what we could and couldn't do. So as we worked with the PDGA and opened things up, we let everybody know.
Great.
So.
Thank you very much.
You
This is
betcha.
exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's a great report. Thank you. Commissioners, with that, I'm going to move on to item number 4, a request for approval of a ratification of the 2021 tax sale of properties. Our presenter is April Hatfield. Ms. Hatfield? Go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
All right, so county completed the 2021 delinquent property tax sale on May 27th. Of course, the tax sale is one of our least favorite parts of the job. Weber County never wants to sell someone's property, but when it's required, it's only to recover the taxes, penalties, and interest, with any overages going to the original property owner, or if they can't be identified, then the funds go to the State of Utah Department of Unclaimed Property in their name. So we don't keep any of that overage. You may or may not be aware that this auction is a result of 6 months of exhaustive efforts by more than just the clerk auditor's office. So with that in mind, we'd like to thank the recorder surveyor's office for their work in reviewing the list of delinquent parcels to ensure that no complications with the boundary descriptions exist. We thank the attorney's office and Cortland Erickson for being available to analyze any special cases, which seem to come up every year, and advise us on the best way to proceed. We thank the treasurer's office for working with the property owners on payments, as well as posting the payments as quickly as possible, which keeps the process running smoothly and efficiently. Also, the sheriff's office, we appreciate Deputy Guard being present during the auction and keeping an eye on everything and everyone. Finally, I'd like to, of course, thank Roger Brunker for his assistance in finding current contact information for some of these delinquent properties, reaching out to them and tirelessly supporting me in this process. So with that, we started this year with only 95 properties eligible for tax sale, compared to last year with a beginning list of 129 and the year before with 181. We're seeing a definite downward trend in the properties eligible for delinquent tax sale.
Great.
Due to Weber County's commitment to its residents, there was a record low number of properties on the tax sale this year. There was only 3 properties up for auction. All 3 properties are undeveloped, and all properties had interested bidders, so no properties were struck off to the county. And as a reminder, Utah Code allows a 10-day period after the sale for anyone with concerns about the sale to submit those concerns to you before ratification. We did have a request to reconsider the purchase of parcel number 130070034 by the winning bidder. Their concerns were thoroughly discussed with the recorder, assessor, clerk auditor, and attorney offices. We found no errors or omissions on the part of the county and no reason to rescind the sale. We do our utmost to ensure the bidders understand the risks of purchasing a property through tax sale, including multiple rounds of buyer beware warnings, as well as their signature on the bidder packet, which has written explanations that of their risks and responsibilities. Therefore, we recommend ratification of the sale. So unless you have any other questions, Commissioners, we present the results of the tax sale.
Commissioners, there's your presentation by Ms. Hatfield. Any comments or questions regarding that?
Comment, if I might,
Please, Commissioner.
Mr. Chair. So I'd just like to thank Clerk Auditor Department and all the other departments you mentioned. These tax sales are not easy at times, and the effort that's been put forth is very much appreciated. And I think that to just have the one concern, the one complaint that came up out of all that work, I think you said 95 properties, shows the due diligence it put forth. And speaking to, if I might, the request or protest on tax ID 1307, I believe it's 34, is that correct?
Yes.
It's probably noteworthy that we put this of record that in review of that packet provided by the Clerk Auditor's Office, item paragraph 5 deals with buyers beware, what I call the due diligence, something that I've been fairly familiar with over the last 40-plus years in the real estate business, which is always important. When a buyer purchases a piece of real estate, it's inherent upon that buyer to do their due diligence to make sure that they, at the end of the day, buy the piece of property that they are attempting to buy. I think that the notice put forth by the clerk auditor's packet, if you read through that, paragraph 5 very much explains that the opportunity for research for due diligence rests entirely upon that buyer. And to have a request come forward now, I just can't support. So it's a position that I support that, and I support the recommendation of the clerk auditor to deny that request.
Would you like to make that in a motion form?
I'd be happy to make that a motion when you're ready.
I wanted, do you have any comment, Commissioner?
Well, I do have a question on this parcel that finishes with 0034. Did we have a second bidder?
Yes, there were a total of 4 bidders on that property.
And was that second bidder close to the 21,000?
Close. 19 was their final bid.
Would it be possible for us to go to the second bidder and ask them if they had interest? Or is that way out of range? Do we not do that kind of stuff?
I would have to refer to Lynn Taylor on that one.
In other words, for a couple $1,000s, I'd be willing to go to the second bidder. But if we're going to lose that bid because of this, then I don't want to do it.
So, Commissioner, we discussed that in our meeting, and we were concerned with the can of worms that might open. There's a lot of dynamics that take place in an auction, and while on the surface it looks like we could maybe just unwind down, but because there were several bidders bidding up, we hesitate to back up at all to try to hit any kind of a previous reset button.
And I understand
Yeah,
that.
the auction we decided that legally and procedurally, the best case is go ahead and make the bid stand as it completed in the auction.
So I guess if this individual felt like he wanted to go to the next bidder and offer that, he could.
Correct. They can do, once he or she
Sure.
completes the purchase of the property, they can then sell it to any or all of the other bidders if they wanted.
Very good. Any other questions, Commissioner Jenkins?
No?
Wait, I'll entertain a motion.
I would so move that we approve the ratification of the 2021 tax sale properties as presented by Ms. Hatfield this morning.
Do you want to also include the other portion of that?
Yeah, and I would include that we have looked at and discussed the tax sale contest for parcel 13-007-0034 and support the clerk auditor's position that we continue with that sale.
We deny that?
Deny the request, yeah.
Okay, great.
I will second that.
Have a deny the protest.
Deny the protest, right.
Great. Okay, is that a second, Commissioner?
Mm-hmm.
Thank
That
you.
is.
Have a motion and a second. I'll place that motion for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you very much, Ms. Hatfield. Our next item, Commissioners, is item number 5, a request for approval of a conditional use permit for the Legacy Mountain Estates PRUD. Our presenter today, Steve, go ahead.
Yes, hi Commissioners. I'm presenting for Tammy today. She's under the weather. Commissioners, I believe you're all familiar with this development. This is what's called Legacy Mountain Estates PRUD. Receiving a conditional use permit is kind of the first step in the subdivision process for a planned residential unit development like this. Just to, oh, sorry, I do have a presentation. Got a couple maps for you to see the location and the lot layout and everything. So the approximate address here is 6068 East Nighthawk Lane. It's just off of Old Snow Basin Road in Huntsville. You can kind of see I've outlined this project just from the county's map. I've outlined that in red so you can see the scope of it compared to the other projects in the area. This is what has been proposed. So we're looking at 48 residential single-family dwelling lots. This is in the FV3 zone, Forest Valley 3-acre minimum. 3 acres is how they're obtaining their density of 48 units. So 48 units on 288 acres. They actually, technically, under the 3-acre zoning, would have the right to 73 units. They've proposed to actually, so the difference between 73 and 48 is 25. They'd like to use those 25 additional units as accessory dwelling units that are detached.
So, may I?
Please.
This is new. When we had this discussion in our work meeting, did we know that they were using those on ADUs?
I don't know. I apologize. It wasn't in the work meeting.
I don't remember that discussion. Do you, Commissioner?
I know about the ADUs. Yeah, I do.
I'm not saying I'm opposed to it, I'm just surprised about it.
Mr. Grover, would you please come to the lectern, please, and address this?
I don't have a recollection of that.
I believe the Planning Commission approved it for 8 ADUs. But it is in a zone that they could have the ADUs in that area, but the Planning Commission approved it at 8.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, so under the density of this zone, they would be able to have these 25 accessory dwelling units detached. They would just like to make it clear and actually kind of pool those 25 units for when they're platting, probably have some kind of table that indicates how many units and which lots they're assigned to. When we're looking at the size and width of these lots, just briefly, we're looking at size that from 2 acres to 30 acres are the lot sizes. Lot widths are 85 feet wide too. There's one that's like 874 feet wide. So a pretty good range of lot sizes there. Mr. Grover did go over a little bit the Planning Commission recommendation. I'll give that to you. So on April 6th of this year, the Ogden Valley Planning Commission recommended approval of this conditional use permit and the proposed layout. But like Mr. Grover said, to limit the detached accessory dwelling units to no more than 8. As staff, we are recommending the following. We did not include that as part of our staff recommendation because we feel that the developer does have the sufficient density. Also, accessory dwelling units are allowed. If they were to, they're currently allowed really anywhere as long as they're attached to a dwelling. Unless they have double the acreage, they could be detached. So I'll give you our staff recommendation, which is to approve this conditional use permit as proposed with the following conditions. And these are all in the staff report. But 1, the roads within this proposed development shall be private. 2, the proposed trails shall allow public access through open spaces. 3, all signage must be compliant with the Weber County Land Use Code, Chapter 12, Title 110, and shall be located such that no obstruction of site visibility shall occur. Those signs are the street monument entry signs. 4, all exterior lighting must comply with the Weber County Land Use Code. That's based on all of the findings that are there in the staff report. There are 54 acres of proposed open space common area with this development. And in this development, there will also be public trails, as I pointed out in this, at least in the recommendation. There are proposed to be trails that the public will have access to. I'll answer any questions if you have any.
Great. Any questions?
Question I have is, can you go back to the auxiliary dwelling units?
Yeah.
So you did not propose what the Planning Commission approved?
So the Planning Commission is a recommending body. So they recommended that you as a commission limit the accessory dwelling units, the detached accessory dwelling units to 8, but we as staff recommend that you don't do that.
That we allow them anywhere?
That you allow them to have 25 as originally proposed and allowed by the zone.
Before I ask for another comment, can those ADUs be used multiples on one specific lot, or they would be assigned to, there's 45 lots here, correct?
48.
48 lots, and so the 20-something ADUs would be one per on those, well, they wouldn't be 2 ADUs on one lot. There'd be one for, and so 20 so of them wouldn't have an ADU, but the other ones could.
So that's a really good question. I don't know that we've thought about that in greater detail. Typically, I guess I would think that one lot would just have one accessory dwelling unit. The developer is here. If you have questions for them, they might be able to answer that. That's also something that we can consider as this is being platted in the near future.
I'd like that addressed for me. Eric, want to say something regarding that?
Hello, Eric Householder, the Householder Group. On the ADUs, you know, and as the developer, we were fine assigning these 8 to certain lots. And that was what our original request was, and then staff thought we could have more flexibility.
Will you pull that mic a little closer so we can hear you better? Thank
Sure.
you.
We'd have more flexibility if we didn't assign them at this point. But when we came in for a subdivision, we could allocate those to certain lots.
My question is will you, do you have a desire to assign multiple ADUs to one lot?
No, and I don't think you can by code. I think you can only have one ADU, one detached ADU on a lot.
I think it's one.
I wanted to make sure that there wasn't any, I want to take the guesswork out of that, you know, make it very clear.
Good point.
My thing is I don't have a problem with the additional ADUs. I would have a problem if you assigned multiple ADUs to one lot. You got some lots on there that were huge, and I didn't, you know, so if it was specific that of the 48 lots that there are 20 or whatever, how many ADUs, there would only be one to so many lots. And once the ADUs are gone, there's no more available.
And you as a county commission, if you wanted to assign multiple units to one lot, you could under a PRUD, but you're not obligated to, and there's it hasn't been proposed that way.
Well, can I continue?
Please.
The question I have now is the state has come out with laws on auxiliary dwelling units saying that we can't restrict them. How does this tie into those laws?
I don't believe this does. If your motion is to allow them their proposed accessory dwelling units, that doesn't restrict them at all.
So I find myself outside the planning organization again. And you know, this distresses me a little bit because I want to support them, number one. And number two, if we keep going outside their proposal, won't be long before they'll be quitting us because we're not, you know, we disregard their recommendations. And I don't want to do that, but I can see no reason why not to allow this, other than they've not recommended it. And yet, as staff, you have recommended it, and so.
Why the disparity?
And
Well, it goes on.
And this might help a little bit, but originally, under a PRUD, you could have short-term rentals. The developers excluded that from the request. I believe it was at the request of the owners in the area. So there have been, which I think there could be a great benefit for the developer if they were able to have short-term rentals, but they've already decided to take that out to please the surrounding neighbors, and so maybe another consideration is that they have considered the planning. I think a fair amount of the planning commission's concerns as far as the density goes, but yeah, that's a good point, Commissioner.
Any other questions? Commissioner Farrar.
No questions, but comment. So I was able to take a tour of this PRUD, the subdivision, last winter, and So I wanted to get a feel for the location of these lots and the proposed building footprints, if you will. And I feel very comfortable. Number one, it would have been very easy for the developer to say, look, I want to break this into 3-acre lots and put those across that, what's the acreage, 200 and some odd?
288.
That's always been a prime, in my opinion, a prime piece of real estate in Ogden Valley. I've looked at it for a long period of time, knowing that at some point in time it would develop. But this comes down to, again, private property rights. The developer went out and purchased that, negotiated a purchase price, could have put 73, decided because of, I think, both market conditions and concerns for the overall view of the mountainside from the valley, he would reduce that to 48. So that 25, what I'm going to call TDRs, could have been transferred legally probably somewhere else. He's decided, or he's requested, that he keep those on site. Most of these are larger lots. If he attached them, if these were attached ADUs, my understanding of the current ordinance is that every one of these 48 could have an ADU.
Correct.
So I see no problem, and especially with the STR proposal being taken off the table, I'm comfortable with this development. I would hope that other developers, as we look, speaking as an Ogden Valley resident, that would look at increasing the size of the lots rather than just maxing out density. I think what they can find is that the larger lots, maybe having more open space, 54 acres in this, will arrive at the same value for that developer, which I think he's found here, and at the end result be better for the community. In terms of density, Commissioner Jenkins, Commissioner Harvey, we talk in detail about water and sewer. Going from 73 to 48 looks very much like it's a positive step in that direction.
And also allowing public access on some of the trails through there. That's unselfish, if you ask me.
Public access. So, yeah, I support this. I'm a little, yeah, I feel like Commissioner Jenkins, why the Planning Commission would take a different viewpoint, I guess, is somewhat a concern. But I think from a private property rights standpoint and the overall benefit to the valley, this development is justified.
Very good. Any other comments or questions, commissioners? If not, I'd hear a motion.
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve the conditional use permit for the Legacy Mountain Estates PRUD as presented by Mr. Burton.
All right, Mr. Okay, very good.
I would second that.
Great. We have a motion and a second. I'll place that motion for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Our next one is by Mr. Scott Perks. It's a request for a discussion and or action on a pioneering agreement for an oversized sewer lift station associated with the Taylor Landing Cluster subdivision. Mr. Perks.
Good morning, Commissioners.
I want to thank you, Mr. Perks, for the homework on this. This is very good. You've got, Minchner has nothing over on you in creating novels. Thank you very much. Weyerhaeuser should give you a Christmas bonus for the paper you've.
I'll hold you to it. I'm going to share my screen via Zoom. Hopefully that's permissible here. I just want to show you the location of this lift station. So this particular request, again, is for an oversized lift station.
We're not seeing your screen there yet. Are you sharing your screen?
I am. I think
there we go.
There we go. So the Taylor Landing subdivision is a 156-lot cluster subdivision at about 18th South and 4300 West, out in West Weber. This particular area in the county has been identified as an area that needs a lift station to provide sewer service to not only this subdivision but also the region around this particular subdivision. So when this developer came to the table with the Taylor Landing proposal, it was identified that a lift station was going to be needed and that we wanted to have an oversized lift station that would serve a greater area rather than just their subdivision by itself. And so I've been working with engineering, both the developer's engineer and also our engineering department to design this lift station. It is currently sized, or the design of it is sized to accommodate 860 units in the area that you see delineated in red. In this area here, the red square is where that lift station would be, so it's kind of to the north of the Taylor Landing development. And we've worked with the developer, with our legal counsel, with the developer's legal counsel, and with the commission to generate a payback agreement, a pioneering agreement, where we would pay back the oversized capacity of that lift station as we get building permits in the region that this lift station would serve. So we think we've got a good agreement together, which is for your consideration and potential action today. Do you guys have any questions on what is proposed in that agreement?
No questions. Commissioner Jenkins, you have any more questions or comments? Very good. Commissioner Farrar, any comments or questions?
No comments or questions. We've been over this in detail.
Well, then we'll move forward with this. Would either one of you like to make a recommendation or a motion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes?
I would make a motion that we approve the pioneering agreement for an oversized sewer lift station agreement with the Taylor Landing Cluster Subdivision as presented by Mr. Perks this morning.
I've heard a motion. Is there a second? I'll second that motion with no comment and place that motion for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
No.
And no. Very good. Motion carries. Thank you very much, Mr. Perks. Very good. The next one is, Commissioners, is a request for a motion to adjourn the public meeting and convene a public hearing. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion?
I'll second
And a
that.
second? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thanks. We're now in a public hearing. This first part of this public hearing is to consider to take action on a request to vacate a 10-foot public utility easement located along the rear or the south lot line, and a request to reduce a 20-foot groundwater and utility easement down to 10-foot on the side west of the lot line. On Lot 1 of the Hunter Place subdivision, Mr. Perks, you're back up. Go ahead.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'm going to share my screen again to show the subdivision plat of this particular property. Okay, so this is Lot 1 of Hunter Place subdivision. It's located at approximately 4209 West, 2475 South in Taylor. The applicant has requested to vacate the rear 10-foot public utility easement, which you see on the southern boundary of their lot here, and then also to reduce the existing 20-foot side utility, and it's called a groundwater easement on the plat, but I believe it's for stormwater purposes, down to 10 feet in width instead of 20. We had our engineering department review this, and they agreed with the request to vacate that southern or rear lot line easement and to reduce the side or west easement. The west easement, to reduce it down to 10 feet, would match the easement as it continues north in the subdivision, so it matches that width further to the north. We did issue public notice to any potentially affected entities, so utility providers and also the neighbors in the area, and we have not heard anything back from anybody. So based on the review of the engineering department, staff recommends approval of these requests. Do you guys have any questions?
Commissioners, questions for Mr. Perks? No questions? Great. Then we'll move to item number 3 under the public hearing, which is the public comments. Are there any public online or in the galley that would like to have any comments regarding this item? None online? And none here in the galley. So we'll move then to, I'll entertain a request for a motion to adjourn the public hearing and reconvene a public meeting.
So moved,
We
Mr. Chair.
have a motion?
Second.
And a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Our next one is an action, Commissioners. It's listed under item 5H2. A request for approval to vacate a 10-foot public utility easement located along the rear or the south lot line, and a request to reduce a 20-foot groundwater and utility easement down to 10 feet on the side west lot line on lot number 1, Hunter Place subdivision. Assuming there are no comments or questions, commissioners, unless you'd like to interject, then I'll entertain a motion for this.
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion that we approve the action requested today to vacate this easement.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second on this. I'll place that motion for vote. Fatima?
Commissioner Faur,
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins. Chair Harvey.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Commissioners, we're now on to I like India as it relates to our agenda. Any comments by the commissioners on this?
None for me today, thanks.
The only one that I would have too is our, again, and to just echo what you said in your comments today, to the employees is make the most of your opportunities. You don't get this time back, and our deepest condolences go out to the Smith family and those associated with Dee and his sweet wife Sherry and their children, along with his parents and sisters and others, the in-laws. A great family and an unexpected and tragic loss. Commissioners, with that, I'll request a motion to go into closed session to discuss pending or imminent litigation.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Fatima?
Commissioner Faur.
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins.
Aye.
Chair Harvey.
Aye. We'll now go into public. Thank you very much. Bill, I think that'll be all. We'll come back and close the meeting when we're finished. Make any announcements necessary.